Come Alive and Thrive. And I shared, another 17 pages with Lisa. Well, as I was doing that, she was capturing out of both of those documents and then our conversation, I referenced the fact that I seem to have waves of clients with waves of themes. And the last year or two, the clients that have been finding me have been younger women, usually in their mid to late 20s to mid to late 30s, of childbearing age, who are kind of in two camps. One, they think they've decided not to have children, and they're at peace with that. Most of them are in relationships. Not always, but most of them are. But this one category of women is, smart. My classic ideal client is smart, successful, savvy, ambitious business professional, male or female. But in this case, I'm looking at the women. And in the case of these women, they've decided not to have children, but what starts to come out is there's a trauma underneath it. There's a reason why they've decided not to have children. And in any case, whether there is or isn't, sooner or later, these women who are my ideal clients will get to a point where they understand they may need to grieve that decision, whether it was a choice or forced on them or whatever, timing issue, whatever the issue, that at some point they're okay with the decision, but they still need to grieve it and mourn it, that it's part of their past and not in this life. Then there's the other group of women who are literally wanting to vomit at the same time they're revealing that what they think is to have children. But they can't imagine doing that and doing their careers, and they don't want to give up their careers. And as they're talking about having children, there's like a teenage kind of righteousness about them, or else like I'd be betraying all the women who came before me and made my work possible and blah, 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 blah. It's like this fascinating, horrific argument they're having with themselves about it. And they're really in a either or, not a yes end about it. And they're struggling with the choice. And so we're talking about this. And then Lisa goes, I was one of these women. and I'm also describing women at a crossroads, and Katrina Tippett, our small group leader, I'm one of these women right now at a crossroads. I'm getting a divorce. I'm a single mom.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so Lisa Turney's like, I was one of these women. And then she tells me a story about how when she was in NABO, she had a mentor who was a corporate executive coach for years. And she called her a tough bitch. And she said, she asked me about my goals. And I'd been married for 8 years. And she asked me about kids. And I said, no time for that. And she kind of had this intuitive sense that wasn't really the right answer or the true answer, my truth. And so she pushed and she asked questions. And then what I said was I couldn't imagine fitting it in. And so she said, so I never saw myself as having kids because I couldn't imagine fitting it in, and blah, 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 blah. And here she is now with Bella. And she said, this area of this sounds really juicy to me. And she said, she said, you're circling around a few different ideal client groups. And she said, and generally though, you're talking about people feeling isolated, overwhelmed, stuck, and kind of at a crossroads. And some of these women are feeling burnt out. Maybe they have children, maybe they don't, but they don't have a clue how to make whatever's supposed to happen next happen. They need to reorganize their lives. And I had told her about my own story that I think I told you about, that, in 2002, I was in a fairly ugly force out, new management team. I write about it a little bit in the book. I ended up finding other jobs in my company, finding other jobs outside of my company, but really looked at it as the universe giving me a message. I knew I was at the end of an arc in my values, everything else. And so I ended up actually taking a sabbatical. I used the metaphor of a pregnancy and said, for 9 months, I turned down a couple job offers and said, I'm not going to pursue a job or consider full-time employment with anybody. I need to stop. I need to pause and I need to ask and answer some things. And I called it Crafting My Own Sabbatical. And Lisa kept saying, what if that's your program? Craft your own sabbatical. And in that process for me, because of how it was playing out at the time in my life then, I knew that the first step was for me to lick my wounds. I needed to, I needed to go back and